America, the full-size SUV segment has always been a very successful one, and GM has always enjoyed a pretty big chunk of the sales pie with the Chevrolet Tahoe and GMC Yukon twins. Now, one thing that people often forget is the Yukon name actually came out about 3 years prior to the Tahoe back in 1992, and today I'm in Vail, Colorado with the all-new 2021 GMC Yukon. This is the all-new 5th generation model. It now rides on the same platform that underpins the new GMC Sierra. It finally has an all-independent suspension at the back, and for those of you who are looking for diesel power, GMC is now offering a 3-liter turbo diesel from the GMC Sierra. So they will be unveiling the truck officially later tonight, but until then, we're actually getting a chance to drive these pre-production camouflage models. So while a full review will come at a later date tonight, let's take a first look. So GMC has finally taken the wraps off of the all-new 2021 Yukon. And this particular one that I'm showing you here is actually the Yukon XL, so the extra long version. It's the GMC version of the Suburban. The Denali version has its own unique front fascia. Now, of course, when you think of Denali, I immediately think of a Yukon. This was the car that essentially started the Denali sub-brand back in 1999. You can see that the front fascia of the all-new 5th generation has a look that is very much a family resemblance to the Sierra, which I think is a good thing. This is one handsome-looking front fascia. If you guys look at the AT4, it has its own black finish grille. This one here with the Denali has the chrome satin look. These full LED headlights have the signature C-shape LED. You have an LED low and high beam, LED turn signals, LED fog lights, more of that silver trim. This to me looks a lot better versus the Tahoe and the Suburban trim, especially if you look at the Tahoe with that RST or that Z71 package where it had that odd looking front fascia. Of course, the Yukon AT4 is going to mimic that vehicle a little bit more closely. Now moving over to the side, you can see this one here is the XL, which means it's about 2 feet longer versus the regular Yukon. In general, because this is riding on an all-new platform, the Yukon has a 5-inch longer wheelbase and about a 6-inch longer in overall length. The XL has about the same stretch in the wheelbase, but it's not quite as long overall. At around 210 inches long for the regular one, this is now one of the biggest of the full-size SUVs. It's a little bit longer now than the Ford Expedition. Now, of course, the big news with this all-new versions, GMC and Chevy have finally given this thing an all-independent suspension. There's a real independent rear suspension. It's a multi-link design, and they've also added 4-corner air suspension. That is a segment first. The Chevy version also offers it. I imagine whenever Cadillac comes out with the Escalade, that will also offer that. This one, as you can see here, is the Denali, and it has a nice set of 22-inch wheels. That's right, these are 22s wrapped in Bridgestone tires. They look great. If you guys go for the AT4 trim, GMC will offer like a 20-inch wheel with a little bit of a meatier tire. So this is more of the street-oriented version. People who, enjoy buying a GMC Denali for the status symbol are going to really like the way this looks. Now coming out back, you can see the design has another new change to it compared to the Tahoe and the Suburban. The taillights have their own unique look to them. They're a full LED taillight design. You can see they kind of have that similar C-shape LED that mimics the front fascia. You have a Denali badge kind of splashed across the back here with the Yukon badge. And then of course, I really love the quad outlet exhaust on this thing. I'm not entirely sure if it only comes on the Denali trim, but it really just finishes off the look of this truck. I think it looks fantastic, and I really appreciate some of the differences that GMC has made here versus the Chevy Tahoe and the Suburban. And opening up the trunk, GMC has also improved the cargo capacity because of that independent rear suspension. You can see, holy crap, there is over 40 cubic feet of space here, and that's with the third row seat up. If you fold everything down on this full-size XL version, you get around 144 cubic feet of space. That's basically rivaling that of what you're going to get in most minivans. Keep in mind that the regular Yukon offers around 25 cubic feet of space, which is again about 10 cubic feet more than what you got in the previous generation, all because of that independent rear suspension. All right, so the exterior of the new Yukon definitely looks a little different, but let's hop into the interior of this Denali trim and shut the door. Yeah, that actually sounds pretty solid, so I'm really impressed. And the other thing that also really impresses me is the fact that GMC put a unique interior on the Denali. This is the first time we've ever gotten a unique dashboard design for just a specific trim level. If you guys look at the AT4 and all the lower trims, they have a different design that mimics the design that we saw, of course, on the Tahoe and the Suburban. This interior, when I first saw the photos of it, I wasn't really too impressed with the overall layout. I actually prefer the tablet screen that you get in the regular other trims versus this one. But as you can see, just sitting in this one here, this has the kind of like the mocha with the brown and the two-tone. There's genuine open pore wood in here. There's genuine metal trim. There's a lot of leather stitching. The seats in the Denali are actually also unique to this trim level. You can see they're nice and perforated. They have this contrasting piping and stitching. They're also really soft and supportive. I'm actually really liking this interior a lot. It looks great here with this big 10.25-inch display that of course includes Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. You have an 8-inch display over here on the center stack, which kind of reminds me a little bit of the gauge displays that we see in some Ford vehicles. I'm sad they didn't use an all LCD design, but I'm imagining they're probably going to save that for Cadillac, the new Escalade, of course. And then over here on the center stack, there's a lot of buttons over here. There's buttons here, there's buttons everywhere. So the button craziness in the dash is gonna be something you may have to get used to, especially this push button transmission selector. This is the same one that we saw on the Tahoe and the Suburban. Drive and reverse, you have to actually pull up, which is interesting. And I'm pushing, instead of pushing for park, neutral, and for L you have to push buttons, but you have to pull up for drive and reverse. I'll talk about that later on during the drive portion whenever I actually drive this car. Now in terms of the materials, you can see there's genuine stitching here on the dash. It's soft padded, more stitching over here, like real wood. I really like the way everything kind of fits together cohesively in here, although I do kind of wish that GMC made this screen here a little bit larger. Like what if they just got rid of this push button transmission selector here and just gave us a 12-inch display? I think that actually would look better, because this right here is taking up some real estate in the dash that I just don't think needs to be there. Maybe they could have just kept the column shifter or put the shifter down here. The new feature with the Denali trim that's exclusive to GMC is this power sliding second row console here, which this console has the ability to move back about 10 inches, which allows the rear seat passengers to have access to it, and it also gives you a storage area for your purse. It's also lockable over here. That's a new segment exclusive feature. GMC says that a lot of families are going to really appreciate that. When you start poking around here in the rest of the interior, you can see there's wireless charging, there's nice cup holders here, the seats are heated and cooled, and really, they've done a really good job with the interior, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a version of this interior eventually show up in the refresh for the Sierra and of course the Chevrolet Silverado. Now hopping into the second row of this Yukon XL Denali, you can see it's also a really nice place to spend time, because GMC again has added far more interior space here because they were able to lower the floor a few inches because of that independent rear suspension, and they essentially gave it all in the second and especially the third row, where there's about 10 inches more legroom back there, so it can finally fit full-size adults, which I'll get back there in just a moment. This Denali version here has these massive 12.6-inch displays, 2 of them that are mounted here to the headrest, which allows the displays to be viewed from also the third row. You can basically watch movies here, you can go to the navigation, listen to music. This is going to be great for kids. I mean, especially if you guys are regularly hauling, 4 or 5 kids back here, this is going to keep them entertained. You have 3 level heated rear seats. You have an HDMI port there, 2 of them, along with a USB-C port, your own set of rear seat climate controls. And then in terms of the space back here, check out all this space over here. The floor is almost completely flat. There's a nice pass through over here. Although surprised there's no center console area, but they do give you these nice armrests, and these seats also give you the ability to kind of move them forward and back with up to 10 inches of travel. So of course that's going to give you more space back there. They also fold down completely flat. So let's go over here. I'm going to show you guys that. If you fold that, you can see the seat kind of slides forward and also kind of goes down into the ground. And then if you want to get back into the third row, pull that lever there and you can see here, it gives you all this space to get into the third row. Now let me get back there and show you guys what it's like. Now I'm 5'7", so I'm not, the tallest person, but I could actually sit back here on a long trip and be comfortable because the floor is now much lower. There's giving you about 37 inches of legroom on the XL, about 34 inches of legroom when you guys go for the regular Yukon. I mean, this is now enough space to actually fit full-size adults. There was a time where if you wanted, the Traverse, that was the one that actually gave you the actual space in the third row. But now the Suburban and the Yukon XL is going to give you that space. And you can see here, you can fit 3 across. So you can theoretically sit up to 8 people in this car if you guys don't go for the captain's chairs in the second row. Now, because this is based off of the new Sierra pickup truck, when you lift up the hood of the new Yukon, the powertrains are going to mirror that truck. The base engine will be a 5.3-liter naturally aspirated V8 with direct injection and variable cylinder management and variable valve timing. That makes 355 horsepower. The Denalis will come standard with the engine that has the most power in the segment. That's what GMC says. It's a 6.2-liter naturally aspirated V8 with direct injection and, of course, cylinder deactivation, variable valve timing. It makes 420 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque. Now, the new interesting addition is the 3-liter Duramax diesel. It's a turbocharged inline 6 that we first saw and drove in the Sierra, and that makes 277 horsepower and about 460 pound-feet of torque. Now, all the engines are going to be mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission that replaces the old 6-speed automatic that you got on the base engine in the previous generation. Now, of course, GMC has not released towing figures yet. They haven't released payload. They haven't released fuel economy figures yet, which we'll be sure to share with you guys whenever they do announce that when this vehicle goes on sale in the spring of this year.
Little intro in the video.
So before GMC is officially unveiling the Yukon tonight, they're actually letting us on this little course that has some snow. It has this hill course. We go through this little tight parking area to show all the cameras. And I've got the GMC rep with me here. He's going to be talking about some of the features that this new Yukon offers. Stay tuned though, I'm going to be doing a full media drive whenever this car is actually available without all the camo on it.
So the first part, we're doing the split co launches. So you're going to put your left wheels where you see the dry pavement, or the wet pavement, I should say, and then the right on the ice there.
And this is to test the four-wheel drive traction.
Yeah, this is the four-wheel drive, the traction, right? The active response system, different situations, right? We have the chassis controls as well as the electronic limited slip differential working for you. The limited slip differential, even torque on both sides. So even though one's on ice and would usually spin up and you couldn't go anywhere, this allows you to drive forward.
So right now we're on the left side, it's pavement,
high traction,
and the right side is ice. So the car's four-wheel drive system will be able to figure out where to put power.
Right, and the differential, yep.
Okay. Okay.
Pretty seamless. So you do it again here. Now the right side's on a high coefficient surface and the left's on ice.
Okay.
Similar thing.
Oh yeah, there's like...
So all the torque transfer you need and get you out of the situation.
Okay, and these are just the standard tires that you have on the car,
These are standard tires.
Okay, so these aren't winter.
Denali, the 22-inch tires.
Okay, very cool. I mean, that was very effortless, so...
Okay, so for the off-road hill part here, we need to raise the vehicle up, put it in 4 low, and then we'll go to the raise 2 position.
Okay,
so the first thing we do...
Neutral.
Neutral.
And then 4 low.
Okay, so now we want to put it in the raise 2. So the 2 rotary knobs, the one on the left, you push the middle to bring it up, and then rotate it once and then twice.
Okay. So this is putting the air suspension in its highest mode.
The highest, the 2-inch higher.
How much ground clearance total does it have when it's in the highest mode?
The actual number, I don't have that for you. We'd have to get that. And
it
depends on where you're measuring and everything. Right?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, that's... you said this is a segment exclusive, segment first for the air suspension?
The 4-corner air system, yeah. Okay, so now we're there. So drive, pull.
Oh,
and then we'll give you the camera view here.
Okay.
Turn the guidelines off for now. But so, right, we're going to get up where you're looking at sky, so this kind of helps you know where you are.
And this is part of the 9 camera views that you guys offer?
This is one of the 9 camera views.
Okay. So I know on video it doesn't look like we're going up this steep hill, but you literally just see sky.
And then you can go ahead and stop. We're going to do the hill start. You can see, if you stop, you can see it says 21-degree angle we're at.
Wow, okay.
Okay, so now you can let your foot off the brake. Trust it.
So this is the hill start that's holding the brake, so it gives me time to move from the brake to the accelerator. Yeah, thank God for those cameras. They're very handy.
Okay, now we want to turn, stop for a second. We want to turn hill descent control on.
Okay.
So a little bit higher, there's the button, looks like a truck going down a hill.
Yep.
Green light's on. Go ahead and brake over.
Just trying to, there's a little flap here so I can adjust the temperature.
Gonna hold it. There, it tells you it's active, so right now it's set at 1 mile an hour. So you let your foot off at the brake, it's gonna take you down the hill at 1 mile an hour.
So this is kind of like an off-road cruise control, basically.
Yep.
So my foot's completely off the brake and not touching the throttle, and it's actually holding the brakes for me. So that's really comforting, because that can be scary going down a steep hill and having to move your foot from the gas to the brake. Okay. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how this thing feels out on the road with its new independent suspension. It definitely still feels like a Yukon driving this one, but I'm noticing that it doesn't bounce as much, so the ride definitely is a little bit softer than before.
Okay, so we're still in a raised ride height mode. If you went forward now, you'd hit that the bar simulating if you're going in a garage or parking ramp area. So you need to bring the menu up to bring it back to its normal ground clearance. And there you go, you let go. It'll give you the green light telling you that it's moving, and now it's done. Go ahead.
Now, does this air suspension come standard on the Denali trims?
It is an option.
Option, okay.
MR damper with coil springs are the base standard with Denali, and then you option up to the 4-corner air.
Okay. Yeah, it just barely clears it.
And again, on snow surface here, turning, accelerating, no traction issues.
Yeah.
Old ABS chassis controls all the braking and noises and everything. Here it's nice and seamless.
It's very seamless, solid, smooth. Like, there's nothing to worry about, really. So that's why people love 4-wheel drive, right?
Yep.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Now, between the GMC Yukon and the Chevrolet Tahoe, General Motors sells about 200,000 units every year in America. So as you can see, this new addition to the lineup is a really important model. And after spending some time just checking out this all-new 2021 model, I am genuinely impressed. I love the fact that GMC and Chevy have finally added an independent rear suspension, which just gives you a crap ton more space on the inside. I also like the interior changes. I really like the standard interior, and I also like how GMC has given the Denali version its own unique interior. And really, I think when this car does go on sale in the spring of 2020, it's going to be a really hot car. Big SUVs are all the rage right now, especially when you have all the space, all the towing capacity. The diesel engine is also going to be an interesting addition because even though we don't have fuel economy figures yet, GMC is saying that this should get the top fuel economy in the large 3-row full-size SUV segment. Now, of course, pricing has not yet been announced for this truck, but the current one starts at around $50,900. It's about $1,500 more than the regular Tahoe and the Chevy twins, basically. I'm imagining this is going to be more expensive. I wouldn't be surprised to see a fully loaded truck like this particular one here to be well over $70,000 when it does go on sale.